What is up, everyone? I'm Jeff London. This is the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast, where we are intolerant of weak-minded attitudes that keep people from pursuing new and exciting things in the areas of fitness, outdoors, and general lifestyle. Been thinking about this episode 73 for a little bit here. 73 should have been out last week when I was in Tucson, but I had a lot of things going on, not in a negative way, but just a lot of thoughts, and I'm back here, and it's the new year, and hope your Christmas was great, hope your New Year's was great, your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, whatever. And I was trying to get some sort of congealed, cohesive thought, but I figured that's not going to happen. It's kind of the point of the podcast, to just kind of take the reader, the listeners through the mindset. So I'll start with about a week ago. I was listening to the Hunting Collective podcast, and Remy Warren was the guest, and they were talking about ethics, and just to hear these people who are professional guides and have hunting shows, just to hear them talk about the importance of ethics is something that I didn't get growing up. It wasn't that my dad or anybody that influenced me was unethical, but there's just a specificity that's come with listening and just hearing people talk about those sort of things. My dad would drop me off to the river, and we knew the limit was 6, and we had to catch him in the mouth, and that was just kind of the end of what you do. It's just the right thing to do. And so I would never, the why of it was never really brought up. I think that's kind of similar in a lot of households. I don't think my parents were neglected whatsoever. They taught me right and wrong, and they were great parents. But it was interesting to just ponder how important it is to analyze what you do and who is listening. On that Hunting Collective podcast, it's episode 6. It's from March 14th of 2018. They were talking about how when PETA came out with the little filter or whatever that you could put around your Facebook profile, how enjoy animals, don't shoot animals, or animals are for enjoying, not shooting, not killing, something like that. And how so many hunters then use that filter to post pictures of them with something that they had killed. And I saw it. I didn't do it, but I saw it and I laughed. I thought, well, that's what you get. But at the same time, I thought, man, what if that was an absolutely brilliant, that's a new word, brilliant marketing scheme by PETA to recruit more people? Because if you are on the edge and you think hunters are, it's kind of well, maybe they're not so horrible. If they're going out of their way to show bloody dead animal pictures as a way of saying, hey, be combative with PETA, and you're attacking PETA essentially, or if PETA then turns around and shows that as what hunters do, and this is what hunters are, and how thousands or millions or however many people use that filter to kind of in your face show that, it's really interesting perspective, because I never saw it as like a recruiting perspective. I don't know if PETA meant to do that or what, but it could have been a brilliant marketing ploy if you then show that, hey, we need more help, we need more money, because look at what the hunters are doing. And they then had all of these examples of people who are using that filter to be combative, and they're not just innocent hunters who are hunting for food. They're looking at opportunities to go out of their way to be combative. And they brought that up, and they didn't necessarily say that it was a marketing ploy, but as far as recruitment stuff, that's definitely something that, we're encouraging the enemy, we're stirring up the enemy, but they shouldn't be enemies. If we want people to understand us and our way of lives as hunters and outdoorsmen, we have to present it in a way that's going to be something that people can't really argue with, and people that might want to listen to it. As soon as you engage in a discussion that turns into yelling, people stop listening because they're yelling. It's just my turn to yell back at you and say whatever rhetoric or repeat every rhetoric I've heard. So it was super interesting. And in the Meat Eater podcast, another podcast you're listening to and reading stuff, and it's just a different level of conservation and responsibility that comes with hunting that I hadn't really considered before. And how I present everything that I do, what I post, how I talk, what I write, all that stuff is so important. And it's always been important, but just being a good steward of something. If this is something that's important to me and I want people to understand it and preserve it, the worst thing I can do is misrepresent it or represent it in a way that's going to get people to be against me or to decide things that are against what we want as outdoorsmen. You just look at how irrational we think it is and how illogical it is that New Jersey is kind of shutting down black bears, and how you can't hunt grizzly bears in British Columbia. And we know what that ends up being like. The wolf situation on Prince of Wales in Southeast Alaska, the wolf situation in Alaska in general. And then compare that to, the wolves in Yellowstone in the lower 48. It's just so different. And so if we want people to see how things all work together, and admit that things are, we're not totally without fault, and it's a very serious thing that we're doing. And if we really embody or try to adopt that ripping lips sort of, if it flies, it dies. I'm not saying, if you want to use that hashtag, I don't care. That's fine. You can do whatever you want. So this is just me reflecting on myself. This is my podcast talking about stuff that I think. And when I say we, I just mean like me, I guess. But that's something that I have to consider going forward in everything that I do and what I post. Like, what am I putting out there? And if there's an anti-hunter out there, how am I portraying hunting? Am I doing it in a way that's going to maybe convince them that, well, maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe I should at least take a different look at it and maybe try to listen and understand what's going on here, rather than have, whatever they think or whatever their bias is confirmed by something that I post. So, yeah, and stuff is going to be taken out of context, no matter what, all the time. Stuff that I write, people misread it. People, they'll look at a post and they'll take things out of context. They don't understand humor, or the type, I was not clear in my humor, or whatever it was. So, that's going to happen. As a podcaster, as a writer, I'm essentially inviting people to be upset and misinterpret. But I think that's just kind of part of it. So next part that I was thinking about was, I was just reflecting on 2018, which is what people you should do. That doesn't have to be at the end of the year, but at some point you should reflect on how things are going and what you like and what you don't, and what's going on. And I really liked 2018, and it kind of started in 2017. My buddy Danny Lear from Caffeine and Kilos, so you can go check that out. I started writing a blog for them, but even before that, Danny and I were talking about books that we'd been reading that had been kind of impactful. He was talking about Essentialism, The Disciplined Art of Less, and I read that book, and it was a really great book because it was about how much extra clutter and how inefficient we are with our time and with our energy. If we only have a certain amount of energy that we can use per day, and if we waste that on things that are non-essential or that are not helping us achieve any sort of goal, then it's a waste. And so we get really excited about using things that we have or justifying things that we have when really we don't need it at all. And so by eliminating those sort of things from our lives, we can be much more efficient and happier. So I kind of pondered that for a while, and I was wondering what it was in my life that I identified most with and who I was. And at the time, I was a teacher, writer, basketball coach, and co-owner of a business. And while I liked all those things and I could justify all those things being in my life, I wondered, what am I? And I identify as a writer. I write. I like to write. That's one of my main goals. I'm a teacher. It's what I do. It's my occupation. I enjoy it. When it came to coaching and when it came to business owners, things were a little bit different because I like to coach. If the point of a life is to have some sort of purpose and be impactful in some regard, coaching really allowed that.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plans shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
But I think I'd gotten to the point where I was just a guy who coached. And if I'm just a guy who coached, that's not, I'm not full in with that. And that's, I love coaching. The kids are great. But I just didn't see myself as a coach anymore. It was just a guy. It was just something that I did. And then I looked at how that might be getting in the way of some of the other things that I wanted. I hadn't spent Christmas with my brother and my mom since 2007. So it had been a long time since we'd been together. And so there was the family element there, the family piece. And then also I wanted to go, if I identify as a writer and I want to do more writing, and that's one of the main things I want to do, not only as like a side hustle, but just as like, a passionate thing, something I love to do, then I need to do that more. And so I stepped away from coaching, and then I looked at the business. And I thought, I don't want to be a business owner. I'm not striving to be a business owner one day. I had started a business that we put a lot of work into it. I enjoyed aspects of it, but I thought, writer, teacher, consolidate. So I left the business, which was difficult, but it was great. Making those difficult decisions afterwards. It's been difficult, but you make those decisions and they're difficult. But I've been able to consolidate energies and be more efficient with the writing, explore new avenues that I'm more energized for. I have more juice for, and there's a interesting dynamic here because I think that we sell ourselves short most of the time. I think we think that we don't have enough energy or we don't have enough juice to do. We're just overwhelmed. But I think by consolidating and believing, and it sounds so cheesy, but like believing in ourselves that that we can handle this, that we can do this. When you're in high school, the most difficult academic thing you've ever done is to take like an AP class, or senior year is so tough. Then you go to college and you just remember back to high school and how ridiculously easy it was. But it's not until college that you realize just how easy it was. And then if you go to get a master's degree or advanced degree, you look back at your undergrad and think, oh, wow, that was crazy. Or while you're in your undergrad, you're taking 19 units and you think back to how difficult 15 units was, but now you're at 19 units. And you just keep piling more stuff on, and how you can handle it reveals so much more about yourself and how much you're able to do. So you got to be kind of careful, I guess, with judging when it's too much or when you're just making excuses, because you want more free time to just kind of hang out and time to yourself. But are you really going to use that time to rejuvenate yourself or refresh? So I think it's a dangerous thing. And I think the self-help book is a multi-billion-dollar industry because we want some sort of insight into making our lives better. And I really don't like self-help books, but I do like motivational books that point to me as the problem, but also as the solution. That's not going to say there's some things that you can't control, because you can't, right? But you can respond to and you can control how you react to certain things. So that book, Essentialism, just changed kind of my thought process. Even as far as gear, I've bought some gear, but I've definitely scaled back in the amount of gear that I own. But just take old clothes and donating the old clothes. Just stuff. Anyway, great read, Essentialism, The Disciplined Art of Less. Another book that Danny recommended that I read was Mindset by Carol Dweck. And really great book. Talks about the mindset of people who can grow versus people who don't grow. If you have a growth mindset, you believe that you can do this, that this can be learned, If you have a fixed mindset, that means that you either have it or you don't. You're either smart or you're not. You're either good at math or you're not. You're destined to this or you're not. So the growth mindset's been so important, because at every point we have to learn to do more things. And if we feel that we're not capable of, or we're not deserving of things, then we just fall into this stagnant life of nonsense. And so loved reading that. Another book that was really important was what's the name of it? Such a great book. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which sounds like funny because of how to win friends and influence people. Makes it sound like you're some like high school kid with no friends and you're reading this book on how to, control people or even adults. But it's not like that at all. It just talks about how considering other people makes things so much more impactful, not only in sales and marketing in a job, but it makes it impactful because you're considering other people first rather than just what you want. And your depth of relationships and your depth of experience with other people becomes so much more enhanced because you're not just worried, or it's the responsibility of having a good time or to be successful or in this relationship or in this transaction. It's not just about what this person can give to me. It's I'm considering the other person. And so it really impacts things so much more. And so applying some of those principles has been awesome. It's great for sales and business, of course, but just applying it in your everyday life and considering other people is such an important thing. People like to talk about themselves. People like to share. And so engaging them and allowing them to feel comfortable around you has been important. Asking questions and listening and valuing other people, I think, is something that's so important. So those are 3 books that I would definitely recommend if you haven't read in 2019 to do it. If you don't want to say that it was the 2019 resolution and you want to wait for a couple months, then go ahead and do that. But yeah, it's the application is the most important part of it. You read a great book, it resonates with you, you think about it, but if you just put it back on the shelf, it doesn't do anything. It can't do anything for you. It's not the book's responsibility to do anything. It's your responsibility to make any adjustments or applications of it. And I'm far from a perfect person. I would not consider myself an essentialist. I would consider myself really in anything. As this podcast is named, it's the Mediocre Alaskan. So just ordinary dude who's just trying to figure stuff out. And I think that the things that I have been able to apply from those books has made an impact. The things that I've been listening to on those podcasts, as far as my responsibility, the way I see it as an outdoorsman, is important. And so I'm trying to apply those sort of things, and that's what I'm excited about going forward in 2019. Went out fishing yesterday, didn't get anything, but it's just nice to be out, and you wonder, why don't I do this all the time? So it's nice that I do have some free time now without coaching to be able to do that and live a life that's going to be great. Again, it'll be difficult going to home get basketball games and wonder, man, aspects of coaching I'm sure that I'll miss, but also it's nice to kind of take care of yourself and be with your family and follow other things if life takes you that direction. So I make the most of things. That's a big point here. So I would recommend going forward those 3 books: How to Win Friends and Influence People, Mindset, and Essentialism: The Disciplined Art of Less. I would also recommend listening to the Hunting Collective podcast. Again, that episode that was really interesting was with Remy Warren. It was episode 6. Vortex Nation podcast, always great. They're talking about hunting experiences and great insight. And then another one that I listen to a lot is Tundra Talk with Tyler Friel up in Fairbanks. So if you want a different view of what Alaska is like, definitely go for the Fairbanks, the real Alaska, the hardcore Alaska, Southeast Alaska. It was miserable, when it's 37 degrees and raining. It's a different type of cold, but we have daylight. It's 8:38 in the morning, and I see blue skies. It's kind of nice. In points north, you're not going to get a whole lot of that. So hopefully the year is off to a great start. Make sure you check out the MediocreAlaskan.com for further content. Article I wrote for Caffeinated Keto's blog has been posted there, so you can check that out. And as always, any feedback is welcome on a direct message on Instagram. You can go to the Mediocre Alaskan on Instagram or Alaska Lund on Instagram. Also follow the Facebook page. Email me. It's all fine. Talk to you next time.